right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Everybody seems to be about 4 or 5 of us, so there'll be a few people coming into the room. Here they come. It's 10 a.m. this month for the webinar. We've had to change the time a little bit, so I hope that doesn't upset your day. Oh, here we go. Everybody's turning up, probably with a cup of coffee in hand, which I don't have, glaring omission. So good morning. Welcome along to this month's webinar, which is, I think will be interesting. And I hope you'll find it interesting, but it is essential knowledge that will help you to do your job better and just understand the stuff that goes on around about your role as a property manager. Oh, we've got a good turnout today. There's quite a few people coming in, so that's great, and even more. So this morning, we are going to be covering Body Corp and how to stay sane. Any of you who've been in the property management for a good number of years will understand the frustrations of Body Corps and dealing with them. And this has always been a thorny subject in discussions. And so I thought I'd call on an expert to give us an expert's view of what Body Corp is and how to get the best out of your interactions with people in the Body Corp and what their purpose is. So this morning we've got Gillian Blakely, and Gillian she's done some sterling work for my company when I had it, and she is my resident expert. Good morning, Gillian. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Oh, I'm freezing, actually.
Are you? Yeah, it's cold.
It's bloody cold here this morning. Hailstones last night, so let's not talk about the weather because it's a bit rough. So yeah, I've probably got a good few questions for you, and anybody that's watching or listening, if you've got questions, please fire them at us either as we go along, or we'll do a more formal Q&A at the very end. Hopefully plug some holes in your knowledge. But Gillian, what's your background in this?
Well, I was a residential property manager for over 20 years, and then I sold my company and I got asked by Colliers International to come on board as their Body Corp manager.
Yeah.
That was pre the Christchurch earthquakes. And then we went through 7 years of that. During that time, I became their national director. So I did the whole of New Zealand for Colliers. And then after about 7 years, they decided to sell their division and I bought it. So I carried on in my own company. So I've been doing it since just before the Christchurch earthquakes.
Wow. So you must enjoy it then.
Do you know what? I found it so much easier dealing with only owners and not tenants at the beginning that, yeah, I do quite like it.
Interesting. So, so what is the purpose of a Body Corp? Why is it there?
Okay, well, a Body Corporate, basically, it has multiple ownerships on one title. So the Body Corporate's responsible for maintaining the common areas, which is generally the exterior of the building, driveways, letterboxes, anything to do with the building warrant of fitness. If it's a multi-storied, there'll be lifts, HVAC systems, anything that's with the code of compliance for the Wellington or whatever city council. There's a section, there's a grey area though, as far as the maintaining of the common areas. And this is quite a good one for property managers. Sometimes if the windows break or if there's damage to individual doors, that's not necessarily covered under the Body Corporate. There's a section in the Act that states that for if a cost is not for the benefit of the majority of the owners, it can be, taken as Section 126. So if Johnny's thrown his cricket ball through a window and there's not quite enough for an insurance claim, we may be looking at you guys to reimburse for the cost of that. But it's all done on a basis, one-on-one basis sort of thing. We look after insurance policies. We do renewals. One thing for you guys is a lot of the body corporate residential policies will include internal aspects of your property. So sometimes carpets are covered, kitchen benches are covered, things like that. So if you have some damage happen, do get hold of me or your body corporate manager to find out whether a claim can go in before you go ahead and get this thing fixed. I had one lady a couple of weeks ago, she dropped a hairdryer into her bathroom sink and chipped it. She needed it to be repaired within 13 days, which was the time her husband was coming back from overseas and she didn't want to know she'd done it. This one was covered by the body corporate, so we were able to get that fixed for her. I'm not sure how she explained her $500 excess to them, to her husband, but you know, that's what it is. Yeah, so that's basically what a body corporate is. We look after them, you know, check your title. That's how you'll know whether a body corporate is, whether your unit is on a body corporate. So,
I was
yeah.
always under the impression that anything outside an apartment, using an apartment block as an example, anything outside the apartment was the body corp's domain, and everything inside the apartment, except maybe heat pumps or ventilation or was down to the owner. But you're saying carpets are sometimes covered.
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on the insurance policy.
Right.
Always does. So, yeah.
So read the policy.
Yes, read the policy. read the act. Ugh. Anyway,
Ugh.
sorry.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah. There's different types of body corporates. We can have high-rise buildings that have commercial on the bottom, like hotel or shops, residential on the top. They can also be either fully commercial or fully residential. And again, could be a block of townhouses. I've got a couple of over 60s complexes, which are body corporate. So like I say, to find out if you're dealing with a body corporate, check the title and see what that says. If your owner doesn't know, then that's where you go to the title.
So is a body corp a scary thing to deal with?
No, we're lambs. We're lambs. But it's like anything, you're dealing with people. Some landlords, if it's their home that they're living in, they can be very precious about really small things. If it's an investment property, then the landlords are very money conscious, and they can be scary because they expect most. The hardest thing about a body corporate, and probably for you guys as well, is keeping it within their budget of what they can afford, and basically refereeing between owners that just don't get along. We have to have majority voting on some things, and if they don't like each other, they tend to, it's like toddler time.
So I know with property management, it's the Residential Tenancies Act that governs everything that we do. What's the law that is the underpinning for a body corp?
It's the Unit Titles Act. That's our Bible, like your Residential Tenancies Act. We have to run everything in order with that act, unless the body corporate sometimes can resolute out of certain aspects of the act. And they'll do that either at an extra general meeting or at their annual general meeting, via a motion to vote. So, for example, the Act says that you have to have your financial accounts audited every year. 80% of the time, this is unnecessary. It's a very costly exercise. It can be between $3,000 and $15,000 a year to get your accounts audited. Wow. If it's a little body corporate, say 8 units, it's unlikely there's been a lot of financial traffic go through their accounts. So why spend the money? So that way you can actually put a motion at a meeting to say that we're not going to go ahead with that resolution.
Right, and you mentioned a number, like having a certain number of apartments in a body corp as an example. Is there like a minimum number or a maximum number?
No, there's no maximum. The only thing with it is that if you are more than 10 units in a body corporate, you have to have a third party be your property manager, be your body corporate manager. You can't self-manage anymore. You used to until the Act changed in May last year. Now it's from anything from 10 up, you've got to have a professional do it.
Right, gotcha. Would that be the case if one person owned all 10 units?
Oh, well, he could probably resolute out of that and put a motion in there. What gets tricky is if he's trying to sell something. Not always someone wants to buy something where one owner's got majority ownership of the complex.
Oh, yeah, true.
But he could. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You could resolute out of that.
Interesting. I'm glad I asked you a question that stumped you. That's good.
It's like, why would you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, what would be your pet hates, or what would be a Body Corp's pet hates?
If non-communication, it's really one of my pet hates, and I find it quite often. I get an owner or I get a property manager that's requesting something from me. They might need information on their insurance policy, and I'll go back and ask a question because not every question is just, can you send me the policy? We have different ones, and you've got to, ask questions. And if I get ghosted, it drives me crazy because I just won't, I've got to keep that going. So please keep your communication going. Body Corp managers are no different to any other contractor that you've got. We work for your owner. So treat us just as you would and keep us as accountable as any other contractor. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had a couple of weeks ago, we organised down in Christchurch for Body Corporate for a bunch of decks to get replaced by the developers because they'd failed. And I'd arranged with this one manager that our contractors would go in at a later time because their tenant was a single lady with a child. So we arranged for the contractors to be there at, after 9:30. 10 o'clock, I get the telephone call from the contractors to say they can't get in. There's no access into this place. So I ring the property manager. The property manager's gone on leave, never told me she was going on leave. And I'd had this conversation with her on the Friday before the Monday contractors were there. So I finally found the person that was relieving them. And she said to me that the tenants have left the key under the mat. Well, they hadn't. And then I had a conversation with her about whether the contractor was at the right unit in the complex. Now, the contractor was the developer, so I wasn't going to go back and say, you sure you're at the right place? So basically, 3 hours after the contractors were there, they had to go away because they couldn't get access into the complex. So communication is really, really important for me to keep in touch, especially if we're getting maintenance done. The other thing is, please don't ever give your tenant my direct phone number. I'm not allowed to speak to him. I have to go through owners. I have to go through properties managers. I can't promise anything to a tenant that an owner hasn't confirmed. And as some of you know, some tenants tell little white lies. I've had phone calls where I spoke to the owner. He said it was completely fine for me to paint the front door in polka dots. Just need to check with you what type of paint you want. And that is a phone call that I have had in the past.
True story.
True story. Yeah, you get all sorts.
Oh, so we wait all week for stories like that. That's good.
Yeah, polka dots on the thing, and you can't. Yeah, I mean, part of the rules of the body corporate are that you've got to keep it all, looking all the same, sort of,
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say for property managers, always ask me for help. If you can possibly get your owner to send me an email as the body corporate manager saying that I have every right to speak to you regarding the property. That way you'll get straight away, we put you on the list of communications that go out to owners. That way you'll get updated on any rule changes there are, requests from me for insurance information. Every year I need to send an email around to the owners asking them whether their units are a long-term tenancy or a body corporate or a social housing. That's very important because that's all part of the claim process. So if I haven't advised them already that 2G is an Airbnb, we have a claim, it's an Airbnb, the claim's valid, invalid, you won't get it. So get them to say, send me an email giving me authority to speak with you direct on their behalf.
One thing a couple of things that has engaged me in when I look at apartment blocks. One is pets. How does the Body Corp deal with pets in a big block of apartments?
Pets. Some pets are allowed in the body corporate. It all depends on the rules of the body corporate. Now, the rules of the body corporate are separate to the Unit Titles Act. This is an addition that is done specifically for each individual body corporate. They're lodged with LINs, so they're legal. So when buyers buy into it, they know exactly what the rules are that they're buying into. Make sure you give a copy of these rules to the tenant, and it'll have in there about a pet clause. Rules will include things like no washing on the balconies, no parties, fire drills, very similar to what you'd have in your tenancy agreement. Pets. I got called once from a high-rise building I looked after in Christchurch. It was 15 stories of hotel and then 10 stories up above of residential units. And that Body Corp had no pets in it because we were dealing with hotel and health and safety and food and all of that kind of carry on. A tenant in there had bought a pet miniature pony into the complex. Yeah. And it had broken the
Wow.
lift. It had broken the lift. He put it in to take it up to go in the lift.
Oh
We
my
had to get the
God.
lift guys out there about 2:30 in the morning to fix the lift and get the miniature pony out of the lift. It was scared and it was loud and it was in an elevator shaft and it was squealing. So as I'm driving down Gloucester Street to go and fix this thing, I'm seeing all the lights going on of all the hotel rooms because they could hear this pony squealing. This good tenant told me that he had no idea that he wasn't allowed a pet, that his property manager had never told him, and he thought he could, so he was bringing in his miniature pony.
Yeah, but a horse. Come on.
I know, it was, yeah, very
Wow.
loud, very squealy.
So I've got a question for you, which is based on my experience. Can the Body Corp rules overrule the Residential Tenancies Act?
No, it can't. The rules are only for rules of how to behave. The only way you can overrule the Unit Titles Act is to get a motion put down at an annual general meeting or an extra general meeting where all of the owners have decided that that happens. Or you could, if you're talking about a situation where the building's been around for a while, then suddenly they want to change the rules and they want to put that into the system, they have to go ahead and get the rules redone with whatever changes they want on there, and then they get loaded into LINs. You can't just change the rules just because you want to. It's got to go through a very official step to do that.
Yeah, the reason I asked this is a few years ago, I looked after an apartment in Wellington, and they had a 3 strikes and you're out rule for tenants in the building, and
Right.
we reached that point with my tenants rather through bad luck than anything else. And the Body Corp got in touch and said the rules state that you now have to apply to tenancy services to the tribunal to end the tenancy, which I did. I applied. I didn't end the tenancy. I followed the rules, which said you have to apply, and I satisfied that requirement and let the tenancy continue. The Body Corp manager was furious, to say the least, and tenancy services had no idea whether I was right or wrong. It was an odd situation.
This Body Corp manager, was it self-managed by the committee?
No, it was a formal Body Corp company.
Really? Okay. I go on the idea you've got to be governed by whatever the government acts are, whether it's the Unit Titles or the Residential Tenancies Act. I mean, yeah, I'd find it very strange if any tribunal would adhere to just the rules saying they've got to get out. I mean, like you said, you did everything you could. You tried, you applied. That's what they're telling you you've got to do.
Yeah, but I didn't want the tenancy to end.
No, so you didn't try very hard.
Yeah, didn't try very hard. No, we actually went to mediation. So you must have some funky stories. What's your most ridiculous thing that's happened?
I've got a couple. I had one here in Wellington. We had quite a famous person living in there. They used it as a bolt hole for when they were doing meetings in Wellington. And they needed to have 3 Secret Service with them at all times. They followed them everywhere. They even slept outside his unit at night. And this particular owner had 3 or 4 other units on his same floor of this high-rise building. So he didn't have just the floor on his own. And I was regularly phoned to get him to ask for his security to stop snoring outside in the corridor because they'd fall asleep during nighttime. And he was really loud. And then I had a phone call one night where the security service guy had woken up to a noise and thought there was something going on and ran straight into the incorrect unit. Unfortunately, that door had been left unlocked, so he could get in there. So he went straight into someone else's unit that was not his client's. We had to make sure that never happened again. So what we did was we got them to get one of those do not disturb or a ribbon and put it on the door handle so their security agent knew exactly which door when he woke to go into.
Jeez, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, and they're all in black suits, the whole, talking on their earphones sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, you must have some interesting ones. You got any other stories
Oh,
there?
it's not an exciting industry, body corporate. Let me think. I look after over 60s complexes. They've become
Okay.
very popular lately. Um, and as a body corp manager, you either love them or hate them. Again, it's all in the control of the owners. If you get you know, the old ladies that don't like each other, it can be tricky. I looked after one a long time ago when I first started. And this woman used to moan all the time about her fellow owners. And I get telephone calls asking me to ring Doris and get her washing taken off the line as the noise is whipping in the wind and upsetting a cat, this person's cat. Same complex, I get phone calls that say Steve's light bulb's on outside and get him to turn it off because it's shining in your lounge. Um, some over 60s complexes allow tenants. So let me know if you need any help with those, as you can fall into an absolute whirlpool of craziness with people getting at each other all the time.
Yeah,
But I think
yeah.
my favorite story is the pet pony.
Oh, that's a doozy. I'm stealing that story. I'll
Yep.
credit you for it, but I'm
You're
stealing that
welcome
story.
to it. Yeah, pet
That's a
ponies.
treat.
Pets generally are the problem, or you'll get the people that have intoxicated going home and don't know what lift they're on, so they get off. And often I'll get phone calls to say that this person's standing outside my door and he's in the wrong floor of his apartment building. Yeah, it's just. I mean, you must have the same similar stories as a property manager.
Oh, I've had a tenancy in an apartment building in Wellington, and one of the tenants brought a date home for some late night activities, and she decided at 3 in the morning that she was going to do the walk of shame. So she got in the lift and pressed the lowest button, which took her down to the car park. And when she walked out of the lift through the fire door into the car park, which was lit up, she realized her mistake and then couldn't get back out to the lift. And
Right.
after a couple of minutes, all the lights went out.
Oh
So,
no.
so she was in a basement car park in pitch dark. And what she did was she felt her way along the wall till she found a fire alarm and she smashed it. And that
No.
turned on the emergency lights and called out the fire brigade, who then sent our tenants a bill for $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
I can
was,
imagine.
for all it was a cheap night out, it became very expensive very quickly. I
Oh,
think they were
that's
just
funny.
playing cards and they got lost in time. So,
Yeah, that's right.
does anyone who's watching us today, has anybody got any questions that they'd like to throw at Jill? Don't throw them at me. Um, let's see if we've got any Q&As. Here we go. So, oh, Mandy's updating us, Jill. Body Corp rules have to be given to tenants.
They do. Yeah, absolutely.
How
Yeah.
often do those rules change?
Well, every time they change, we have to give a copy to all the owners. So they could change once a year, they could change every 5 years. It just depends when there's something to change.
Right. Okay.
They
But
will
you,
automatically, they'll get voted on at a meeting. They'll
yeah,
automatically get sent out to the owners for distribution. So again, make sure you get your owner to say, I can talk to you. And then that way I can, keep you updated as well.
yeah, yeah. Um, left field question: is it okay for an owner in a body corporate to hand their unit over to social housing?
It depends on the rules of the body corporate, and it also depends on their insurance policy, and will also depend on whether that complex is what it's been referred to in the council as a resource management act, what it's to be used for. So it can be, but we need to tick the boxes that it's gone through everybody that's meant to say yes, it can be.
Well, I've got a big long question here, which is more of a consultative question than
Okay.
anything else. So I won't delve into that because it's more of a discussion than a question where you can say you should do this or do that.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I might flick that to you in an email so that you can
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
respond to that if that would
Yeah,
help.
anything. Anybody's got any questions that they want to email to me, yeah, feel free. Good as gold. And
Yeah,
call me if you need any help. I'm happy to answer any body corporate questions for people. It's not a,
Yeah,
not a problem.
I'll copy this into you in a wee while, and if you can have a look at it and help. Her name's Rachel, and
Okay,
yeah, that's a long one.
brilliant.
So hey, look, that's fantastic, Jill. I've always found like I said, there's a couple of good ones in Wellington that are a joy to deal with, and there's a good few that are average, and then there's a couple of really stinky ones, and it's just the luck of the draw, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and it all comes down to the owners, whoever, who buys them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think it's enough to tax the brain before everybody rushes off to do interminable inspections on what has turned out to be a really crappy day in Wellington.
Yeah, definitely
So,
wet. Okay.
uh,
Well, thanks for having
hopefully-
me, and anything I
oh,
can
no
do
worries
to
at all.
help me.
Okay, well then we'll speak later, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. Remember, you can get a copy of the recording of this session probably in the next day or so, and please check the RPMA website for any more webinars that we've got coming up. There's still another 2 to go or 3 to go before the end of the year. So we will see you then. Thanks again, Jill.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.